You're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang? Then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350 today.
The action track, the Richmond Fairgrounds, whatever you want to call it, Richmond Raceway is a gem of Virginia racing, of Southeast racing, if you will, Mid-Atlantic, whatever region you want to lump this place into. Richmond Raceway has long been one of NASCAR's best, and this evening we get to showcase it in round 1, race 1 if you will, of the UFL Elite Series playoffs. Cars hitting the track in qualifying. This is race number 9 of 12. We are officially now, Zach, racing for a championship. Welcome to the virtual Richmond Raceway. Welcome to Pit Stop TV. My name, as always, is Andrew Cardinale IV. Alongside me, as you would expect, Zach Murtis in the booth. Having a lot of fun tonight, Zach. This is a very, very special place to go racing. A lot of iRacing leagues have hit some trouble here. It's a hard track to handle, especially in this Gen 4 Cup car. But when a league gets it right, this is such a cool racetrack to go racing at. And I think we're going to see something like that this evening. I really do have some high hopes.
Absolutely. Richmond's always a great track to come to, especially these Gen 4 cars. They always know how to put on a show. There were a lot of great races back in the day from Richmond Raceway when the NASCAR Cup Series was here. And, you know, I'm always excited when we come to a short track, especially with this league, because they have the tendency to put on quite the good show, to be perfectly honest. And you can see here with the track map laid out, Richmond it's a D oval short track, kind of something like Auto Club, but just a little shorter than Auto Club, just a little bit. Not by much, just a little bit. But Andrew, these guys are wrapping up with qualifying here in just a second, and hopefully we're going to see some good racing tonight. You and I were talking about it early on. There are a couple of drivers here that are in the playoffs that are not here tonight, so that could cause a bit of a shakeup.
A shakeup for sure, as the race 1 winner from earlier this season will not be in the field. That is Ryan Vargas. Now, he's not the top seed. He actually comes in the 4th seed for these playoffs, the last driver currently in. That means he either has to win to move on. Well, I guess regardless, you can win to move on or point his way in. Let me just double check that actually, because now I'm second guessing myself. John explained it to me. Yeah, that's actually, I mean, those are the two options anyways, win or point your way in. That makes sense. But regardless, Vargas will have to fall back on some pre-existing points coming in, as will Andrew Schwartz, who, again, is a pretty impactful driver to these playoffs. Now, he's a little further down the seating, less points to cushion himself. Both drivers, I think, will be very, very important as we move forward, especially considering they are now back a race, and I think will be scrapping for some points at these next couple of rounds. Zach, look at the schedule. I mean, Richmond, Charlotte, and Phoenix for this first round of the playoffs. Then we eliminate 8 of the 12 cars and go racing at Homestead Miami Speedway with just 4 championship contenders reset back to 0. This is going to be a really exciting 3 weeks.
Absolutely, and the schedule not the schedule shake up, the point shake up that we had not 2 weeks ago at Michigan with Brian Mercurio dropping out of the playoffs after having 3 wins. I think he was going to have schedule conflicts that were going to not allow him to make most of these races, and he didn't want to take a spot away. But that put Gabe Herschel in, who he thought he was originally out leaving Michigan, and then all of a sudden, boom, there he is now inside the playoffs. So now he has a second chance at taking a championship here. And I think we're going to see some real spoilers here tonight. We have a lot of short track ringers in the field, and you can see now in qualifying that it is definitely some drivers that do need these points up towards in the top 10.
Absolutely, and you see we've done something a little bit different this season for our playoffs. Still that white background for the drivers that are fighting for a championship, but in the case of some drivers and teams that sent us numbers with some color in them, we actually gave them their opportunity to be a little bit personalized. And drivers, this is your chance as well. After this race, if you notice yours is just black and you want a color on there, hey, send us what color you want, or send us a new number file, what have you. I think it's a really cool opportunity for these guys to add a little bit of personality and kind of a direction we're going to take things for Season 7, so long as we get the opportunity to do so. But qualifying wrapping up, Zach, I do actually, you know what, we will go back to the point standings just one more time, because I do want to highlight Chris Wetz, who is always quiet in this series, but 2 seasons in a row now has made these playoffs. Watch out for car 71, especially as warm-up begins behind us. And I feel like Chris has got something for these guys if he's allowed to go after it.
Absolutely. You know, we see cars on track right now in the warm-up, and Wetz was pretty high up in the qualifying, Andrew, and I was personally surprised. And I think a lot of these playoff drivers are starting to realize they need to step it up a little bit, because now you're in crunch mode. You are in the home stretch of the season. It's go time. You've got a chance at a championship. You got to make sure you can take it. You got to capitalize on every single moment you can.
We're having a slight audio issue, and I'm curious if anybody out there has had audio issues with the X audio selections in iRacing. That's what I'm experiencing. I don't know. This is kind of a fourth wall moment. I don't know if anybody else out there has had this issue. It seems like it fixes and then goes back away. It seems like maybe in race sessions it doesn't want to work quite right. And see, now there's some audio. I'm not really sure. Regardless, let's get back into the sim. Let's talk about these paint schemes we've got on track. A lot of special ones out there, including when we're looking at Gabe Herschel, who is in these playoffs and fighting for a whole lot in this championship run. The 07 car always looks good, painted, of course, by Ryan Pistana. And there's several others that are in these playoffs. How about Andy Trupiano here in car number 16? I have loved this paint throwback from day number 1. Of course, you've got Aaron Smith in his classic all-yellow Chevrolet. Then Blake Reynolds. I love this metallic red and purple.
Absolutely. These schemes are always so amazing. I am quite particular to, actually, glad you put it on, one of the drivers, one of the EPI drivers. The EPI paint schemes are very, very nice. They always have a very simplistic feel to them, but still keeping a very modern look. But you got Leighton Sabile here with a bit of a different design. Joshua Chin, always love that purple and black. It always complements each other so well. Absolutely love that paint scheme. And there are a lot of other drivers that have great paint schemes as well. They just flow. They flow so well. I love seeing a paint scheme that flows with a nice linear design. It just speaks volumes to me.
Justin Malillos is definitely a really solid one. A throwback to Justin Allgaier and his older Brandt paint schemes when he ran over for H Scout Motorsports. How about Corey Himes, number 11? We got Jonathan Palmieri this week in a Pistana, Pistana.com financial group. Toyota Camry, a fun one there for sure. Tristan Hagenstein always has a great Tristan Hagenstein photography Toyota Camry. Cosman Yada Show. This is one of the cooler paint schemes in the field for sure. The matte finish isn't too crazy. It looks good. I really love what he does over at Splash and Go Graphics. Always has some good looking car on that number 84. Certainly following in that grain, if you will. Yellow. Yeah, I love that yellow. A lot of Sunoco paint schemes you see are that darker blue. This is against the grain, if you will. I love that yellow. I know you do. Of course, that's your favorite thing for sure. Jonathan Taylor has a great Dale Jr. throwback. And, you know, if we go back around actually to Leighton Sabile, this is an interesting throwback. Of course, he's got a long history with those guys over at GMS Racing who are ceasing operations at the end of 2023. I think it's kind of being consolidated down to just Legacy Motor Club. Now, I believe is working over at LMC. He's got a long history with those guys at GMS. I think this might be kind of like a farewell to GMS because I do believe this is a throwback to one of Spencer Gallagher's old Allegiant paint schemes in the ARCA series, and it's a really nice touch.
Absolutely, and if you want to flip back over to Jonathan Taylor, honestly, I keep thinking that it is a Paul Menard paint scheme because if you look at the hood and you look at the side, it says Taylor's, but it's in the font of what Menard's used to be. And I know Paul Menard and Dale Jr. had a very similar scheme for a few years at a time. So you say it's Dale Jr.
Well, you do know that Dale Jr. ran a couple of Busch cars with the Menard's sponsorship.
That is true. That is very true. And
that's what this is a nod to. That red number 81, number 8 at times that had that Menard sponsorship. Yeah, that's 100% I think what this is a nod to, and I really do enjoy that. Dylan Poteet always has good paint schemes. Love that Silver Bullet number 31 car. This is, yeah, I mean, this is one of the best paint schemes you could possibly ask for, especially on this Gen 4 car as warm-up comes to a close. Andy Trupiano, the fastest. You can see them quickly there. Trupiano on the top of the board, then Aaron Smith, Blake Reynolds, Josh Parrish, the fastest of the non-playoff drivers as we get ready to go racing this evening from Richmond Raceway. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. And once the session ticks over, we don't want to do it too early because the sim kind of freaks out a little bit, but we'll take a look at our weather conditions as soon as it ticks over. There we go. 77.1 degrees in the air, partly cloudy skies, 81 degrees on track. That is just about the perfect, ideal kind of racing weather you could ask for here at Richmond. That is really, really good stuff. Quickly, before we get down to the grid, let's also take a look at our Whiplash SimCam's race details. This is a 150-lap race. Definitely have a little ways to go for these guys. A 50-lap stage number 1. And Zach, our fuel window checks in about 55 to 60 laps. We might see some guys push it just over 60 if they save some fuel. We might see some guys pit as soon as 50, but somewhere in that number, 55 to 60. And of course, they have plenty of tires. That's not even a concern. As usual, up to 3 green, white checkers and no fast fix. That second stage is where pit strategy will get interesting. These guys can run all of stage 1 if we go green. that second stage, it's really going to be, do you prioritize newer tires sooner or later in that run? As it looks like we're rolling off the grid pretty quick. Let's take a look at our field of starters this evening. 27 strong. On pole, Blake Reynolds in car number 66. Joshua Chin rolls off from the second spot. Couple of playoff contenders, big-time playoff contenders. Your top 2 in points in your front row. How about Chase Cabry and Aaron Smith? Also a couple of playoff contenders. Cabry, our most recent short track winner in the UFL Elite Series. He rolls off third. Starting 5th place will be Aiden Savitsky. Big-time qualifying run for the 82 car. Sean Peleg, another playoff driver, will start from 6th. Starting 7th and 8th, how about Chris Wetz, an underdog in these playoffs alongside Cosmin Yanisho, making his return to the series, and Andy Trupiano, Chase Stewart and Nate Stewart. There we go. A couple of big-time drivers in these playoffs as well.
Absolutely, and rolling through the rest of the field, we've got Josh Parrish and Corey Heim starting 11th and 12th, just looking outside the top 10. Two drivers that have a lot of speed in the series right now. Dylan Poteet and Leighton Sabile. Sabile, another playoff driver. He's trying to see if he can rebound a little bit from his qualifying performance. I'm sure he's going to be running up towards the front. Evan Allen in the 50 and Manon Rahman 15th and 16th. Rolling through about, that's past halfway actually. Alex Bates 17th and Gabe Herschel, another playoff driver, starting in the 18th position. He's got a little bit of work to do tonight, but I think he's going to have a good race tonight. Jonathan Palmieri and then Ryan Pastana is going to round out your top 20 for these drivers here tonight.
Your back 7 cars, Tristan Hagenstein of the 27, Justin Melillo in the 53. He starts from 22nd. Then Adam Kodal joins the grid back in 23rd. Jonathan Taylor in 24th. 25th is Matt Wishart. 26th, Doug Denice. And finally, Walker Skeeter brings up the rear of the field. Blake Reynolds going to lead us into the restart zone. And just like that, we are racing in the Richmond 150. A clean and green first lap, at least at turn number 3. It looks like it's going to stay that way out of turn number 4. That is everything you could ask for and more from these drivers in the first race of the playoffs, especially at a short track. And we are side by side for the race lead, Zach. Josh Chin outside, Blake Reynolds inside, racing nose to tail now down the backstretch for the lead.
Yeah, Joshua Chin, your regular season points leader and regular season champion, is going to take the lead away from Blake Reynolds. Cabry right behind. Aaron Smith, Savitsky, Peleg, Wetz, your top 7. There's Tripiano, Yanisho, and Sabile, as Chin is going to go purple that time by. Leading the race and going purple. He can't ask for anything more than that.
Savitsky dropping back a little bit, Peleg on the outside, and I think it would be wise of Savitsky to kind of let these guys do their thing early. He's racing with a bunch of championship contenders. He's the one odd man out aside from Cosmin. How about Savitsky and Cosmin being the 2 odd men out in the top 10 right now? That's pretty impressive from the 82 and 84 cars. Also, big move there from Trupiano, sending it on the inside to get by the 71 of Wetz, and now going to run to the outside of Savitsky, look up top, and try to take that 6th place away as Sabile fights on the top side of Wetz.
That's one thing I really do like about Richmond is that even if you don't get the best of run up on the top side, you can still have a mondo run down the straightaway. See right here with Sabile, he's not going to get alongside, but look at the run he gets. He can still hang tight with Wetz. He can stay with him, stay next to him on that door.
Nate Stewart! Manon Rahman got into him, and the 44 is going to spin and actually just save it 5 wide out of turn number 4, trying to collect everything up. We stay green, and I'm not sure how, but I am oh so thankful that we keep racing. Lap 6, boy, was that eventful. Really close call for Nate Stewart, one of the top drivers, I feel like, through the regular season in this UFL Elite Series. That was scary.
Yeah, that was pretty scary. Looking like, I don't know if it was Jonathan Taylor, but I think he got a little bit of left front damage because there was some right rear damage on the back bumper of Manon Rahman after he had gone around. I think Jonathan Taylor got into him. They are still side by side. Tristan Hagenstein leaning on his side, and I think, yeah, I do think I see a little bit of damage on that left front.
I don't see much on the 27, or sorry, on the 7, but I do see some damage to Evan Allen's right front his Chevrolet. I'm not sure where that might have come from, but I think Jonathan Taylor escaped too much issue as Pistana looks to the inside there of Bates. Really good battles throughout the field. But let's go back towards the front as Chase Cabry puts Chase, no pun intended actually, on Blake Reynolds, and this is going to be a fun combo to watch. Josh Chin seems like he's got the car right now, but this battle for second, and you know what, honestly might be a battle for the race win, because Blake Reynolds is usually pretty conservative early in the race. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Blake has been great all season. Josh has been great all season. Chase is our most recent short track winner. I feel like he's got a leg up just from that. This is going to be pretty exciting.
Absolutely, and you see Trippiano taking a little bit of a peek there on Peleg, but he's going to fall back in line. And Cabry and Reynolds, two drivers I know for a fact, they have got a lot of skill, and they have got a lot of, well, time on the sim. So they've had the experience to be able to know what these cars are going to do and be able to handle them properly, and you can see it already that they're running in the second and third position. But drivers now just be conservative. Make it to the end of the stage. You'll be able to take a set of tires there, just run it all the way through, and really, once we get into the second stage, Andrew, I think that's when we're going to see a lot of these guys starting to make moves, get that track position, get into the cleaner air, so that way they can hang on to these tires a little bit better.
Someone worth coming back and highlighting once again is Leighton Sabile. Of course, we saw him make some moves early and move forward to the top 10. He started 14th. He's up to 8th already. It's only lap 12. If he's able to save his tires from here on out, he could be a force to be reckoned with. Of course, he's getting up there right now, would be collecting 3 stage points, and that's going to be the forefront of our mind these next 3 weeks, Zach, through Richmond, Charlotte, and Phoenix. Stage points, stage points, stage points. We see it in the NASCAR playoffs. Building that cushion for the next round, that is huge. And of course, really, it's just building that cushion to try and point your way in, because realistically, at least one driver is going to the championship race by points alone. If you are able to do that, if you're able to be the top driver in points, regardless of what happens with the win, that just feels good.
You say realistically one driver's going in on points, but we don't know that for certain. We could have some spoilers.
Right, at least one.
At least. But we look up here, right behind Trippiano and Peleg, who are fighting right now, Aiden Savitsky. He's running up there in the 7th place position. He's the highest running non-playoff driver. Maybe he can make something work. Maybe he can make something happen. Who knows? But anyone's game right now. We're only 15 laps in. Wets has dropped back 2 spots. I noticed that as well. So every driver needs to worry about what they can do in terms of points, position. Track position is key here at Richmond. Tires are great, but track position is key.
15 laps now complete. We are at 10% of the way through this race. A nice clean and green. Let's knock on wood briefly. Nice clean and green start to this race. Trippiano sends it up the inside of Peleg. These guys have been side by side for a while, and that's bunching them up now. Savitsky joining the fight. Sabile gets there, and that will soon bring the 71 of Wets into it, I think, as well. Savitsky nice and calm into turn 1, kind of sitting back, going over his options, right? You're racing a bunch of championship guys. You're in here really just trying to hang out, have a good run. You're scraping the wall there to turn 3. You don't need to force anything. Evaluate your options and take this one step at a time.
I think Savitsky is doing really a good job right now. So he's going to let Sabile take it up the inside right there for that 7th place position. Sabile is not going to clear just yet, but coming off the corner he does as Trippiano gets clear of Peleg. And I was about to say, Peleg needs to learn. Well, not learn, but he needs to just fall back in line, realize the situation. He's losing time to cars in front. Short tracks are like road courses. If you fight in the wrong spot for too long, you're going to lose way too much time. So sit in line, get single filed out. If you're faster than them, then go get them. But if not, just stay in line and do what you need to do and pull away from a lot of these guys who are burning up their tires trying to catch you.
A shout out is worthy here for Aaron Smith. Of course, he is a pretty trusty, pretty solid oval driver, but he's very much known for his for his road course prowess. Showing here, just like he did at Bristol, he was pretty solid there. Of course, he had to go through some trials and tribulations, but showing that he's got a pretty strong number 70 this evening, running 4th place very solidly, right where he qualified. And has a decent little cushion, at least for now, back to Trippiano. He doesn't have to stay 4th, I think, for this to be a successful night for him. But if he can stay 4th, that'd be a big, big day. As back up front, our top 3 stay within about a half second of each other, and particularly Chase Cabry is just off the back end of Blake Reynolds.
Yeah, he has actually closed that gap up just a little bit, working it down to just under 0.2 of a second. And Reynolds, obviously a driver we've known that's been very conservative. Cabri, a driver who's been known to be able to turn up the heat when it matters. But I think one thing we need to realize is that both drivers are closing in on our race leader, Joshua Chin. So, with us being almost halfway through the stage, do we see them, you know, maybe dial up it a little bit and try to go after that race leader?
Well, I know they won't be pitting. Do you want to burn up your tires? I mean, fuel is the really limiting factor here. Tires at this place should be good for at least 80 laps or so. Fuel is limited in this UFL Elite Series, which means these guys have to pit sooner than their tires would otherwise require them to. So I think these guys will be able to have some options of how they want to push it, and certainly they don't have to pit in this first stage unless we get a caution. Then I think we'll see some do so. Peleg battling here with Savitsky. Also, Nate Stewart finally got clear of Kosmanyanisho and has sent the 84 outside of the top 10 for the first time this evening. That's going to put him in the clutches of Corey Heim, who dives the inside there in turn 3. And after the top 10, top 12, Zach, the field really falls off right now. Josh Parrish is over a second behind Corey Heim. Then you get John Palmieri back here, another second back. Dylan Poteet, Ryan Pistana, all of these guys hanging much further back, including an oh-so-important number 07 car. He is a playoff driver. He's sitting back here in 18th position. This is not how you want to start the playoffs.
Yeah, Gabe Herschel being the lowest running playoff driver at the moment. He's got to do a lot of work right now to get up there and see if he can make things happen. If I were Gabe Herschel, I'd take some strategy calls. I'd stay out when the leaders pit. I'd pit when the leaders stay out. Just do the opposite of what these guys are doing and try to offset them in any way, shape, or form to really just help your race a little bit better. If he can find a way to get up there towards the top 10 before the end of the stage, then I would say he still has a relative shot of being able to contend for this win or just keep his playoff hopes alive. But he's got to do something now, because 18th, looking at getting passed right now by Bates and Hagenstein, it's not looking good for him.
Yeah, he's got a train of cars just behind him. 4, in fact, it looks like. Bates, Hagenstein, Kodal, Amarillo, and even Evan Allen. He's got 5 cars right behind him. And a teammate up the road, that is helpful if they start moving faster. But right now, the 07 heading in the wrong direction, needs to turn things around quickly as we get closer to 30 laps complete in this race. There's also been a big fight going on for laps. I say a fight, it's actually been a blink fest from Doug Denice. That's why it's been going back and forth. Walker Skeeter currently bringing up the rear of the field. Doug Denice has been swapping spots with him on scoring because Denice keeps blinking. And props to Manon Rahman for keeping this car together. Of course, he had that big moment earlier in this race. Still in the race, kept things straight, at least on the racetrack, not so much the body panels, as he continues on in 24th rather.
Yes, but it's short track. Not a lot of aero is really needed here. He can just kind of wheel that thing around with the throttle, not really have to worry about what's going on. As we look on board here with Joshua Chin, who now is falling into the clutches of Blake Reynolds, who has pulled away from Cabri a little bit, taking a look up the inside. It looks like Reynolds is going to have a bit of a run here. He's going to keep that nose down there on the bottom, looking from the rear camera, and I think he's going to look to stamp here and absolutely send it into turn 1. New race leader Blake Reynolds, but here comes Chin with the crossover move coming off a 2.
Reynolds parked it there in 1 and 2, did not allow Chin to get back up underneath him. That's some solid short track racing, as now Josh Chin has to deal with the 98 car of Chase Cabri quickly approaching. The 93 quickly fell off of a plateau, off of a cliff. I'm not sure what's going on suddenly for Josh, if he buzzed the rear tires maybe and kind of fell back to these guys, but something changed very, very quickly, because as soon as we flipped back to him and stopped talking about Manon Rahman, the 66 was all over the 93, and this is becoming a much larger issue. It's backing up Chase Cabri, and this is all but going to... It's not going to guarantee Blake Reynolds the stage win, but if it continues on, as we're seeing by these trends, as Cabri goes by now, it's looking real likely that the 66 powers away to a stage win to begin the playoffs.
Yeah, Cabri was going real quick behind Chin, but had to keep checking up a lot more to just not run into the back of him. As we see looks throughout the field right now, Corey Heim moving himself up into the top 10. That's pushing Sean Peleg out and closer to the clutches of a few other drivers who are outside the top 10, Gabe Herschel being one of them, and saw Peleg get a little loose coming off of turn number 4 there. As Yanisho is to his outside, might pull a crossover. No, stay on the outside. Peleg has been dropping like a rock since about lap 15, and he really needs to keep his nose clean and keep moving forward instead of dropping backwards. As you can see, Heim is already well in front of him after only passing him about a lap ago.
You know, I hate to call the guy out, but right now, based on trends alone, he started 6th, he's dropped down to 12th, and he has become less of a factor as the season has gone on. He was great to start the season off, much like this race. He was great, started 6th, clearly has short run speed, but as the race gets going, it's like he's burning up his tires and almost doing the same thing in this season. As we get longer into this season, and we get some maybe lower car counts and more green flag racing, it's really becoming a challenge for that 17 car. It seems like he's good on the short run, struggles a little bit to keep the tires underneath him, and that's going to be an issue. These 4 races for the championship in general, the playoffs, this is the one track I would expect to have a lot of cautions at. We're green so far for 36 laps. I will knock on wood again. If he can't keep the tires underneath him, if he's struggling with that, this is going to be a long road to try and get to Homestead.
Absolutely, and you want to talk about battles going on with drivers falling off. Look at Trippiano fighting with Sabile right now, with Savitsky right behind him. These guys were side by side momentarily for a few laps not too long ago, and I've been watching them on the ticker. I've been watching how this race is playing out. Trippiano has backed a lot of these cars up. As you see Nate Stewart with a big correction there off of turn number 2. He is absolutely digging that car going through these corners. You can see just how loose he is when he gets on the power. He is full tilt to the right, and I don't know, Andrew, I think that's going to hurt his tires in the course of the long run, but he's only got to make them last about another 10 more laps.
That's just how you have to run this car. I mean, I did some practice myself. I really feel like that's just this car here, and if you go back and watch old NASCAR Cup races here, I'm sure it was pretty similar. Maybe not quite to this degree, but similar at the very least. As Stewart, I really feel like Nate's been one of the best this season, and maybe just one of the best on iRacing in general, at least at his level, of just driving the car on edge, being able to hang on to it like that, and being comfortable having to correct the car into and out of the corner as Savitsky goes high, and it's going to play nicely with these guys like Chris Wetz go on by. I like that from Aiden. I mean, yeah, he's dropping back a little bit early. He's still got plenty of time, and he's playing nice with these championship guys. You can try and pick them off later in the race if the option presents itself. Right now, letting them go by when they want to go by, and here comes the 4 car on Leighton Sabile. Leighton overdrives the corner himself. This could be fun.
Yeah, Stewart's going to poke the nose in there, and they're going to get side by side going down the front straightaway. Give the nose going into 1 to Nate Stewart, and he might just take Chris Wetz with him. Wetz has been able to hang tough where he qualified. He's only
no!
Stewart going around.
That's going to be our first caution. Caution number 1, Leighton Sabile, Nate Stewart. These guys have been close in points. We're short track racing tonight. I feel like that's going to come back.
That is definitely, oh my goodness. I know there's a few people on the hot mic right now, but it looks like, you know, to me, Andrew, it's kind of just a racing incident right there.
I do want to take a look from the 25s on board. We'll watch this view first. This is going to, I think this will look pretty good.
Oh. That's a tough one. Like I said, I think it's just a bit of a racing incident. I think Nate Stewart thought he was clear there. I think Sabile thought that he was going to be able to just kind of slot in line and pull a crossover move.
This is the lap prior. And as soon as timing and scoring works with me, here we go. Programs are having fun. So there might have been contact. There might have been a slight boot into 3. But watch this onboard from Leighton Sabile. I can't tell if he squeezes Nate out of the corner. Regardless, I mean, Nate's got to keep it down there, but also if you do something unexpected.
Nate's caught there, I think.
I think that's just a product of the Gen 4. I really do.
It might be. Saw Nate Stewart kind of come up in the corner just a hair. Not even that much, just a hair. And Sabile was there, and it just unfolded pretty badly for them. But pit road is open. Aaron Smith inherits the race lead while we were taking a look at the replay. Blake Reynolds decided to take the pit road. Savitsky stays out for third. Malello stays out for fifth. And like I said, Andrew, Herschel needed to do something to offset a lot of these drivers. And look at him right there. P4 after pit stops.
Yeah, Blake Reynolds are already pitted. I mean, the pit cycle already happened. Blake Reynolds, Josh Chin, Chase Cabry, they all came straight down to the pit lane, and Chin is able to hop over Cabry. I think that's the pole position helping him out quite a bit. Trupiano, Wetz, they all follow back out. You see the ticker on the left side of your screen. This is pretty significant. Of course, you see who has and has not prioritized stage points. Aaron Smith, Leighton Sabile, Savitsky, Herschel, and Malillo, they're all going for these stage points, or at least track position. I'm surprised Malillo stayed out. He's not in the playoffs. Same for Savitsky. But the other three make a whole lot of sense. Smith, Sabile, Herschel, they need it. Meanwhile, Nate Stewart has dropped back to the 14th position. Honestly?
Is that left front damage? Where did that come from?
When he got hit by Chris Wetz.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even realize. It seemed like there was no damage there for a second. It's a little hard to tell sometimes when the noses of the cars are black. They tend to blend in just a little bit. But kind of talking to your point a little bit, Malello staying out and a few of these other drivers who aren't in the playoffs staying out, really, what do they have to lose? They're not running for a championship. They could just try to go out there and get some stage points, go for a win.
Well, here comes the 44 car. Manan Rahman back onto the racetrack. He came in for service, much needed with the right front and right rear damage we've seen for that car. Doug Dice still in the race. Yeah, I mean, it's all just going to sort back out. For the most part, aside from the 5 drivers that stayed out, Zach, this is the same race. It's interesting, but it's going to be just a 3-lap run to the end of the stage.
Absolutely. Aaron Smith, Leighton Sabile, your front row. Either one of them could take this win away. You've only got 3 laps to make something happen, and you've got fresh tires, not 5 cars behind you. You're coming up on the lap 50 stage. Let's just see what happens here, Andrew.
Coming up to the end of stage 1, 3 laps to go in this stage. Aaron Smith, the race leader. Old tires up front. Green flag is out at Richmond. And already 3 wide down to turn 1. Blake Reynolds off the top side. Here he comes. 3rd place. Here he comes. 2nd place. And spinning in the middle of the field. Chris Wentz, Andy Trupiano, and more. The caution comes out a bit late. Who's the leader?
I think it had to be Aaron Smith there. It definitely
is. That is a big stage win for the 70.
Gotta give credit where credit's due. Blake Reynolds with a blistering restart. Gabe Herschel spun the tires a bit. Allowed Reynolds to send it 3 wide around the top. He went from 6th to 2nd in 2 corners, Andrew.
Now, as far as stage points, that looks like this is how they'll pay out. Smith, Reynolds, Sabile, Savitsky, Chin, then Herschel, Cabry, Malillo, Heim, and Peleg. Wetz and Stewart and Trupiano are the 3 drivers in this race in the playoffs that do not collect stage points. This is lap 50. This should be where it's made official. I think they'll hold off pit stops until after the stage end. Let's go back, though, and see what happened to Andy Trupiano and company. So here's the green flag, and it all happens at a turn number 2. Cabry spun the tires. Malillo kind of bunched up down low.
They are 3 wide going into the corner.
Trupiano moves high. Corey Heim down low. And Chris Wetz just got all in the back end of the 16 car. And it was pretty cut and dry from there.
Poor Nate Stewart involved in another caution.
Yeah, not the 4 cars day. Take it on board. He's a couple of rows back, of course, after the spin that he just had. Off the nose of the 25, and
right into Chris Wetz, right again. It seems like those 2 are just magnets for each other tonight.
Oh, that's a good bit of damage. That right front is not it.
That might be a little bit of a toe adjustment. I'm not too sure on that one.
What my grandparents would call that is an attitude adjustment.
Well, that is one way to put it. Obviously, your car is not the way you want it to be. It's not going to act right.
Well, here's the 16 and 71. Returns 1 and 2. Chris just throttles up. Trupiano has to wait a bit. Everybody kind of gets collected. Wet's there.
And Bates went around as well.
Yeah, Alex Bates got hit pretty good. I think it might have been... Who was it that got him? Was it Parrish?
It might have been.
Well, actually, ooh, there's more to this. Watch the 8 car on this restart down at turn 1 as pit stops are taking place in the background. After this replay, we're coming back to pit stops. Going to recap all of that. Here in turn 1, Pastana and Bates make contact. I'm not going to place blame on either driver there, but then Hagenstein is going to get into the 8 car. Everybody checking up. Hagenstein trying not to lock up. Kind of pretty well runs over the 8 car.
I'm sure Pastana was happy to see that caution then. He's not going to like the track position, but at least he's happy that he's not going to have to deal with a run before having to lose all that track position. So you see Aaron Smith coming out with Leighton Sabile right behind him. Nate Stewart did not take that long of a pit stop, Andrew. About 35 seconds is what you expect.
Oh, here he comes back again.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to stay on the lead lap, not sacrifice any track position as much as he possibly can. But he's definitely going to have some work to do to get that 4 car back up towards the front.
This again is just so unfortunate for this guy. He's put together such a solid season. He doesn't deserve this at all.
Back down pit road.
I mean, there's been a slew of highlights of the 4 car this season. This is not what he needs. Really strong driver. Really could make a pretty big run at the championship, I should say. If only he could have some kind of good luck.
Well, Nate Stewart decided to hop out of the car while he's getting some more service. Not taking any tires, may top off on fuel just in case, but he is now still on pit road, about 30 seconds in now. Looks like he's back in the car. Pace car should be coming back around, and he's going to make sure he stays on the lead lap. About 32 seconds worth of repairs. I think he still has a shot to stay in it. Look at that. Look at how close he was before hitting the pace car.
Pace car lights have been extinguished. Let's recap how the field looks up front. Blake Reynolds, your race leader. Josh Chin second. Chase Cabry third. That's going to significantly help that 98 on this restart. I think Chin might fall back a bit. That said, once these tires get warmed up, the top side is pretty good. Corey Heim is up to 4th. Sean Peleg 5th. He's good on the short run. Chris Wetz in 6th. Then Parrish, Yanasho, Palmieri, and Poteet for a bunch of spoilers in this top 10 as we come around to take the green flag once more. Stage 2. It's beginning now, just inside of 100 laps to go. Call it 96. Green flag back out at Richmond. A stack up in the back. Walker Skeeter slow through 1 and 2. Nate Stewart goes by him. And everybody races down to turn number 3. And Chase Cabry is going to power by the 93. Caution. Gabe Herschel.
Oh, no. There's some left front damage on that 07 car. Might have been a little bit of contact. You see Nate Stewart pulling off to the inside right there. It's not the day for these drivers.
Herschel 3 wide, Savetsky inside, Rahman outside. Smith stacked up low, and the 07 got loose. Had to check up a little bit, and Manon Rahman got him.
Seems to be the common theme tonight, especially off of turn number 2. These drivers are just getting right there on the bumper, and it's not like the new style cars where you can hit them square. You will lift these tires up, as you see right there, as Herschel goes around. And too many playoff drivers having problems tonight, Andrew.
Well, I mean, this is exactly the same kind of thing NASCAR sees, right? When they unload for the playoffs, first race of the playoffs this season was... Where was it? I got to think back now.
Pull off to the inside right there in front of Aaron Smith. That's what made this incident 3 wide.
Why can't I think of where the playoffs started? Darlington, there we go. And the whole thing through round 1 is playoff drivers having issues, especially starting off at Darlington. It's such a tough track. Then round 2, I think, begins where? Kansas? I mean, every time we start a round of the NASCAR playoffs, especially beginning the playoffs as a whole, it's all these drivers having issues. We're seeing that this evening. Big time parallels as our leaders come around the front stretch, and Herschel and Stewart got to get going in a hurry, and they will beat out the field. Both of them taking repairs. It's going to be tough.
I don't know how much more you're going to be able to get fixed on that Nate Stewart car. He's taken 3 stops already. That's about a minute and a half worth of damage that he's fixed already. He's got to be hurting big time on that nose, but he's still staying in it. He's doing everything he can to keep his championship dreams alive.
That's a lot more steering to the right than we saw earlier. That's not, it's toe.
Yeah. I think that contact with Wets is really what did him in here. He's going to have to get as much damage fixed as possible. But these drivers should be doubling up soon, Andrew, and we should be coming back to green. And, well, not the day that Nate Stewart wanted to see.
Meanwhile, Gabe Herschel, who also has taken all these repairs. How far skewed is that steering? It looks like he's actually okay. I really think it's cosmetic. Oh, and look at Stewart. This is kind of big brain. This is 200 IQ. He's speeding. He'll accept the penalty and go to the rear. He's speeding to get more time in the box.
That is actually very smart. Speeding in the pit lane doesn't really do anything to you. All iRacing gives you is a black flag and tail end of the longest line. If you have collective penalties, then it'll be worse, but just speeding, it's not going to hurt him too much. So take as much time as you can, get fixed what you can, and hopefully get back out there sooner than a lot of these other guys. Actually, it might be a holding penalty.
Well, I know those guys just left. I mean, we've seen him go to 30, 35 seconds before.
Back in the car.
Let's just wait. There he goes.
There he goes. Be tail end of the longest line for the 4, but I mean, he's coming out last out of these cars anyway, so it doesn't look like it's any hurt to him.
Up front, things have changed. This time, Chase Cabry will restart from the top side. That leaves Chin down low. Heim still in this bunch. I don't think he's going to push too crazy, but he also knows. I mean, let's be honest, it's Corey Heim. The top driver, I'd say, in the NASCAR Truck Series right now. Is that fair to say? Won the regular season championship. Is already locked into the championship for Tricon Garage. I mean, I would say driver number 11, probably the top truck driver in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He's got experience here. Let's see how he can put it to use as we have 90 laps to go. Green flag back out. Peleg spun the tires that time.
See them bottlenecking 3 wide. We've got 1 car in the wall back there. Looks like everyone's going to get evened up, evened out, and we will stay green. There's a lot of these drivers still trying to make ground, and Blake Reynolds is going to drop down in front of Cabry. Corey Heim to the outside, though. Joshua Chin inside of him. They are still side by side, second on back. These drivers are trying to do everything they can to fall in line and take that short way around the track.
Really cool scenes around here at Richmond. Oh, Yanisho, big move to the inside. He's getting turned. Big crash for the 84 car. And we have wadded them up.
We have not been able to turn much of a green flag lap since the stage.
This is not what I expected from these guys. I mean, we had such a great, clean first stage, and everything is kind of going to hell in a handbasket, as they say. Watch Yanisho there, drops down. I think, wow, Hagenstein just lifted him up and dispensed of him quickly. And then Poteet and Kodal tangle. That said, that could have been a lot worse for all parties involved.
It definitely could have been. No playoff drivers involved, though. So that is good for, well, the other playoff drivers who made it by the incident. We'll take another look at it here.
From the onboard of Poteet. So you'll see here Hagenstein when he gets into the 84.
Ooh.
I think Cosman may have lifted once he made that move, and oh boy.
I can understand why Yanisho lifted, because with hard, jerky movements in these cars, especially with blocks, it can upset the rear end a lot.
Let's listen here. Let's listen. I can't tell if he did or not. He may have just been moving slightly slower. I really can't tell if he lifted at all. We can watch it from Hagenstein's onboard and see if he visually slowed up. I mean, I don't know.
It's definitely a tough call to make on that one. I don't know how these drivers are going to look at it. I don't know how race officials are going to look at it, but the way I see it and the way I'm going to call it, Andrew, is just really a racing incident. 2 drivers going for it, and it didn't really work out.
I don't recall seeing the 4-car in the crash. That
But
car
he
looks
does
more
have a lot of
skewed than I recall seeing. Nate Stewart, that battle is going to continue on, just him versus the pit lane right now. While these guys pace around, I do want to bring some attention to some upcoming broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV. Next up, Friday evening, we head out to Barber Motorsports Park down in Alabama. That is always a fun time. Barber on iRacing is a challenging place to go race. We're taking Mustangs out there with the Barber Ford Mustang Club, of course brought to you by Barber Ford at www.barberford.net. Then Monday evening, we go racing at Virginia International Raceway. That is October the 16th. Getting right into the middle of spooky times, if you will. SimLab Production Car Challenge action. 9:30 Eastern, VIR. That's round 6 of 12 for the season. And then Tuesday, we go racing with the Lucky Motorsport Solutions Street Stocks at USA International Speedway, brought to you by Elevated Performance. I believe we have one to green this last time by, because Blake Reynolds is staggered up next to the pace truck. And sure enough, Zach, pacing around a little bit more. And this takes a lot of the guesswork, I think, out of the, well, we certainly won't see anybody saving fuel, that is. Well, the question is if we end up going green at some point here, anytime soon, that is, we can still see a wide variety of different laps that these drivers pit on, anywhere from, at this point, 110, even 105 to 120.
I feel like a lot of drivers might try to save a little bit, stretch it out a little bit further so they can make that run to the checkered a little bit shorter. Less laps on the tires, more ability to push, but these drivers are trying to push for all the marbles now as we're getting ready to go back green.
Back into the Geico restart zone. Blake Reynolds inside, Chase Camry outside, caught the 98 sleeping, green flag. We about missed it until now. Josh Chin has fallen back to 6th place through these restarts. Chris Wetz is up to 4th. And how about Corey Heim taking over 2nd spot as a side-by-side fight for 3rd is Chris Wetz inside, Chase Camry outside.
It's the big thing we were talking about. These drivers need to do anything they possibly can to save their championship hopes. Wetz coming in as the 2nd to last seed. And now he's up here running with these leaders to try and take it away as Joshua Chin is fighting with Sean Peleg. Parrish right behind them. Palmieri, Hagenstein, Sabile finally making up some ground after taking tires after the stage. And they are 3 wide back there, just outside the top 10.
Yeah, they were for a moment. Let's talk about the grossly understated aspect to this race. This is day to night racing. The air temp starting to drop, track temp going to go with it, but just the fact that this track is now shaded, I guess technically, while it's lit up, there isn't sun beating down on it, right? It's going to start cooling down very, very quickly, and while the average track temp may be 81 degrees, different parts of the track are cooling down, especially offline places on this racetrack, as Corey Heim sends it for the race lead here on Blake Reynolds, and Blake is going to give it to him. He knows who he's fighting, and it's not Corey.
What we're talking about, playoff spoilers could come into effect as Chris Wetz trying to find a way around Camry still. He almost got to the back bumper of Blake Reynolds there. But they're side by side, still fighting down the front straightaway. Nobody's giving an inch right now. Look at Wetz going up the inside of Blake Reynolds.
It is Heim time, and everybody says, let's get racing now. It is time to go for it here at Richmond. Nearing halfway in this 150-lap race, and Chris Wetz even making some big moves. Of course, he's got that left side damage from those 2 impacts with the 4-car, but the 71 is unfazed.
You would have never known that he had damage, but it looks like Blake Reynolds is going to go defensive into turn 1. Camry 2 is outside. Wetz trying to find a way around. It looks like Blake Reynolds might be struggling a little bit, getting caught out in some different areas as Joshua Chin is now rolling into this mix. He's up to 4th. He's got a nose on Wetz, but these drivers are still fighting for all the marbles as we are just about almost halfway in this race.
Josh Parrish into this fight. Peleg nearly gets into him down there in 1 and 2. Leighton Seville starting to claw back. I see Palmieri in the fight. Andy Trupiano, who was turned around broadside in front of most of the field, he's back in the top 10. He is currently 9th, racing alongside the 3-car Palmieri, who throttles back there out of turn 4 and gives that spot back up to him. Now lap 75 of 150. This is the halfway lap, and Chase Cabry has taken over from fellow hog tamer Corey Heim. This is a big play out front for those two.
Absolutely. It looks like Heim is not going to push too hard. He's going to let his playoff contending teammate go and take that lead away. Chin right behind Heim, so might be playing a little bit of defense here as Chin and Reynolds are still fighting. Then it's Parrish and Wetz, and then Peleg and Sabile. So the whole field is getting stacked up while the top 3 are trying to scoot away.
Well, top 2, really. I mean, third on back right now is anybody's race, I'll say. At least one of these two. Reynolds or Chin is going to win this fight. Probably Chin, considering Blake has been running those tires, and Chin's on the outside. Otherwise, I think Blake is the strongest car in the field on any given lap if they have even tires, but the games have been played by those hog tamers. Teammates up front, Chase Cabry, Corey Heim. Blake has been so good in this race, and unless he's starting to go away as we get into nighttime, I have a hard time believing that the car is suddenly taking that big of a swing to where he's no longer the top driver, top car in this race. It's a really big swing to happen that suddenly.
Absolutely, and if your name is Chris Wetz, you do not want to be on the bottom right now because Blake Reynolds is holding up the bottom just a little bit. We saw Joshua Chin clear him from the top, and Parrish is up there as well, trying to see what he can make do with, and Sabile right behind him. They are just working that top line right now, being able to really roll it, and you see here with Peleg on board. Whoa, Blake Reynolds! He's pulled
Problems
off.
for the 66. I think he just dropped down to gather it up, and that was odd. I'll be honest, I was looking over at another screen while that happened. We're gonna go back and yeah, this was unexpected for sure from the 66 car.
Maybe he just got loose. Up off the corner.
Oh, Parrish!
Oh, Parrish!
Wow. Okay.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Well, didn't they tell you that's all you're getting paid for this, right?
Ooh.
Anyhow. With that, you know what? This is like a moment maybe to catch our breaths. I'd say that. And then Pastana gets real sideways behind these guys. Hagenstein, Melillo, all of them trying to battle further back in this race. Let's recap the guys that are not up front but are fighting for a championship this season. Nate Stewart, we've talked so much about him. He is stuck back in 24th position and right now just trying to get through this race. He's been pitting for 30 seconds at a time, trying to repair that car as much as he possibly can. It's a slow-going battle with the pit lane, but he's getting there. He's going to require some cautions, I think, though, some retirements from this field. Up ahead, Gabe Herschel is the next driver that's way back here in these playoffs. He runs 20th, just inside the top 20, and needs something to change. He simply needs something to change. He can't run this far back and have any hope of going to Homestead, in all honesty, unless he wins either Charlotte or Phoenix. So maybe that's the play. It's a risky game to play. He's struggling tonight. He's just not got the car he needs. Here comes Poteet looking to the inside. Next up on our list, I know I praised Aaron Smith early in the show, Zach, but it's since been a struggle. He's down in 11th and just seems stagnant.
He's just not been able to go anywhere. He's on the same tires as drivers like Sabile, and we didn't even notice Sabile is up into the 3rd position right in front of Joshua Chin now. He's moved forward on those new tires, but Aaron Smith has not been able to punch a hole through this field, and he just continues to just be stagnant in 11th, and I say that. He's looking up the inside of Taylor, going for that 10th place position as they are still bottlenecked in front of him, and Aaron Smith is still making it work. Looks like those stage points are really playing into his favor because he has not been able to move forward since the restarts.
Yeah, Aaron apparently heard what we said and took it personally. Took the MJ approach and got moving suddenly and fought back into the top 10. Meanwhile, here's Blake Reynolds back to the inside of Josh Parrish. This time, that battle goes much more swimmingly for the 66 car, and Blake gets back clear of that 55, but not by much. And there is something in the water over at EPI today because all of the Elite Performance Industry drivers came alive at the same time. Cabri, Heim, Sabile, Parrish, they all found something all at once. They must have all practiced for the nighttime because they all got quick at the same exact time. Now, Parrish is struggling the most out of the 4 of them as he gets loose there out of turn 4, but he still looks really good. For somebody that's a part-timer, not in the playoffs, he is one of only 2 non-playoff drivers in the top 10 right now. So big-time kudos to the driver of the 55.
And who's the other driver that's not in the playoffs inside the top 10? Well, that's another EPI driver, Corey Heim, running in the second place position right behind his EPI teammate, Chase Cabri. These guys, like you said, Andrew, they've come alive right now. And Corey Heim doesn't seem to be pushing too hard. He knows who he's racing. Like you said, Cabri's out in front by a solid margin. Heck, Sabile is only 2 seconds, and I say only, but that's a big margin, 2 seconds behind Cabri, another 1.5 seconds behind on Corey Heim, and he's still got Joshua Chin on his back bumper. So you've got, well, actually, you've got Chin looking to the inside on Sabile.
Josh Chin down to the inside of the number 25 and taking that position away. That's good for third. While these guys continue to race for the 3rd and 4th positions and get this green flag run in, let's do something we haven't done much, if at all, this season and take a listen to the sounds of the sim. That was somewhat short-lived. Justin Malillo in trouble in the back, and the 53 has significantly been shortened in the rear of the car, particularly the left rear, as there's Chase Cabri pulling up to him after the caution. Just inside of 60 laps to go. This might actually make the pit strategy a little bit more interesting. It should be pretty clear the end. These guys shouldn't have to pit after they pit under this yellow, but let's take a look at what happens here between Pistana and Malillo. Down into turn number 3, Pistana just hooks the 53.
That was a big jump out right there. Kind of interesting to see right there. I feel like maybe there was a little bit of netcode involved, because you don't usually see a car jump out like that.
Zach, honestly, it's just a little bit of contact that it takes to the rear of these cars.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, look at the bunch up down low. Yeah, Hagenstein got hit into the inside wall by Raman.
And he's got left side damage now, too. He's got a little bit of left front damage.
Already had the damage to the nose from center punching Bates.
Yeah, and there's that left rear damage on that quarter panel. You can see it. It's a little difficult to see sometimes, but hey, it's there, and it's going to make a difference. We see drivers on pit road. Everybody's on pit road. Who wins the race off, though? See, everyone's taking 4 tires. Look, it's the belay. Here comes Heim.
There goes Cabri, Heim. Everybody gets off the pit lane in a hurry.
I think Chin actually was out second right there.
Let's see. Cabri, Chin, Heim, Reynolds, Sabile, Wetz, Trupiano, Peleg, Palmieri, Smith, so on and so forth. Through your top 11 or so drivers, they all roll back onto the speedway. Every single car in this race just pitted at once. That is rare. But props to these guys once again. There's the 4 car taking all the time he can to the pit lane. Props to this field. Nobody's a lap down. When's the last time we said that? This deep into a race. I mean, that is...
Don't even remember.
Yeah,
I mean, the last time I've ever seen that.
I know the field is a decent bit smaller this evening, only 26 cars. Usually we get about 36. I know that is part of that, but that is still so impressive considering we've seen some pretty big crashes, pretty big accidents that have taken 2 or 3 cars at a time, if not even 4 at times. That is really, really impressive. There are some really damaged cars. None of them are a lap down. I mean, even look at Doug DeNice. Somehow, in all of his blinks, he has not yet lost a lap to scoring. That, I think, in and of itself is relatively impressive. We even saw that last night in the Lucky Motorsports race. who was it? Addison Cook was having connection issues and lost a lap due to scoring at one point, or at least wasn't scored for a lap, so it kind of messed things up from there in scoring. But what's interesting here, Zach, is Josh Parrish has gone to the rear.
Maybe speeding on pit road?
I think so. Because he had to pit again, but no time in the box. I think it was a pass-through penalty for the 55 car.
It's unfortunate. He was running so strong up there inside the top 10, and now he's going to have to fight his way through the rest of the field again as we see Doug DeNice pulling up. Oh, my goodness.
Poor Doug.
Parrish had to dip a little bit. I don't think he saw Doug coming due to the blinking as the lights are out now on top of the pace truck. Cabry, Chin, Heim, Reynolds, and then Sabile, your top 5, and then it's Wetz, Tripiano, Peleg, Palmieri, and Smith, your top 10. So Aaron Smith didn't really gain anything off the pit stops, but then again, Andrew, now he's in a bit of a better spot as everyone's going to get bunched up again, and we're getting ready to go back racing with the green flag set to come out here.
Corey is hanging way back. Not sure what's going on there. He packs up now. That's interesting for sure. You got 3 teammates down low in a row. Then Shin, Reynolds, Wetz up top. Green flag. Big bobble. Big spin of the tires for the 66 of Reynolds.
And the wrecking behind them. We've got cars around. Caution is out.
Oh, man.
Look at Alex
Herschel.
Bates. Gabe Herschel. And on Ramen with more front end damage. And you see Gabe Herschel's got some right side damage right on that car. Nothing on the left. That right front, though.
He's still got that left door damage.
When he got spun earlier.
Yeah, he's had that for several laps. Man, it gets no easier for this poor guy. And there was a big stack up. Let's just watch from the onboard here of Herschel and take the situation in. Something rather significant happened up ahead.
Yeah, you can see the drivers going through the restart zone. There's the green flag. Oh, tire spinning up top. Hagenstein went around.
Wow.
Yanasho got involved. A couple of drivers just try and go through there. I mean, not Ramen almost hitting Gabe Herschel again. And Bates got heavy damage on that front nose.
They stacked up really quick. The 44 was in the air off the nose of the 53. Something happened early on in this restart with Evan Allen in the 50. And we'll kind of watch this come around turn 4. Evan Allen... Yeah, he didn't go anywhere. He might have been in high gear. Hagenstein got in the back of him, and everybody stacked up. Yanasho gets turned around. Poteet down there. Malillo, of course, got a big piece of it. Doug DeNice and Nate Stewart, I feel like, were the only 2 that got no piece of that at all.
I think Nate Stewart's happy to see that. He does not want to get any more damage on that car. And the more cautious, the more chances that he gets to fix that car, get it back to where it needs to be. Here's on board with Nate Stewart. Sees it all unfolding in front of him and just does a smart thing. Checks up, stays out of it, and goes right around him on side.
Parrish did a good job, too.
Absolutely. Parrish almost got collected in there, but he's able to keep it rolling.
Some more pit stops underneath this, or, well, during this yellow. Alex Bates is one of them. I mean, you'd expect that, right? All that crashing. This is exactly... Yeah, this is exactly what Nate Stewart needs. I think you mentioned that already. This is pretty much like a child walking into a candy shop, right? I mean... Boom, suddenly all these sweet treats, cars with damage that you might be able to pass.
See Bates there, he's getting a lot of damage fixed up, trying to get that car back to where it needs to be. Saw Manon Ramen coming out right in front of the leaders. Here's Skeeter. He only took about 5 seconds in the pit lane. There's Hagenstein. He's been over a minute in the pit lane.
Yeah, we start to see our first drivers going 1 lap down. As soon as we mentioned it, Zach, curse to the commentator, right?
Absolutely. It's...
Oh, man, look at this.
We can't control it the entire time. We see more drivers taking to the pit lane, mainly everyone involved in the crash, and there's Nate Stewart, 200 IQ move once again.
Oh, man.
You know, Andrew, he's going to break our pit lane timer.
Yeah, a little bit. He has... I've never seen that so many times over and over. It's smart. It really is. Poteet in for repairs. Ramen, Bates... Herschel, Gabe Herschel back here, worth taking a look at in the 07 car.
Malillo in the pit lane as well.
Yep. There goes Bates, and he's been in for over a minute, so he sacrificed a lap to get those repairs. Honestly, that would have been the smarter play at some point from Nate Stewart. Sacrifice a lap at some point. You got cautions coming, but that's all hindsight.
At the same time, it's always beneficial to stay on the lead lap, never sacrifice that track position. Because look at it this way: what the UFL does is that if you are laps down and you do not pit, you are allowed to get those laps back. So go a lap down, taking a lot of damage, and sacrifice another stop, or just keep going in as many times as you can and fix as much damage as you can.
We're going green this time by 47 laps to go. Well inside our fuel window now. Everybody is good to the end. Chase Cabry out front, Josh Chin second, then Heim, Sabile, Reynolds, and Wetz. Green flag once again at Richmond. Hagenstein down low, coming out of the pit lane. He should let the whole field go on by here. At least I would hope so. And yes, he will. He will stay down, let everybody go by. Clean first lap.
And he's right there on that apron, letting all the drivers go. And I think that's one thing you want to do. Oh my goodness.
How did Nate Stewart just run purple?
I think he got that damage fixed, Andrew. I think he's finally in a race-winning potential again, as he is turning laps to try and get back up to the front. Finally cracked inside the top 20 as Joshua Chin is fighting on the outside here of Leighton Sabile and Cabry. And I think we have a race once again on our hands as Taylor goes purple, running on the outside of Peleg. Aaron Smith is finally working on that outside. Chris Wett's right in front of him. They are all just double file trying to see what they can do, as Chin is still working on trying to clear Cabry, and I think he'll do it off of turn 4.
Josh Chin back to second. He's looking on Corey Heim. This is the fastest the track has been all night long. All of these guys that weren't so good during the daytime. Hello, Josh Chin. Purple on lap 106. He's bringing the fight straight to Corey Heim. That time, though, into 3. He's got to play nice, right? I mean, this is still early in this race. Realistically, over 40 laps to go. You can't bump anybody out of the way just yet. It's going to come back around to get you.
But look at that run he got off of turn number 4. He is looking and dancing around that back bumper off Corey Heim. He might cross him up here coming off of turn number 2. Still on that back bumper. There it is. He's got the run.
Just to the inside of Heim, who squeezes him down like a pimple. I don't know how they made it through that corner without contact.
Chin is still fighting. He is still there, using every inch of the racetrack he possibly can. But it looks like he's fallen back into the clutches of Cabry, as Wetz is still working to make that outside line go in his favor. I don't know how well it's going to work out for him, though. Maybe he can fall in line right here in front of Blake Reynolds. Maybe not. But they are single filed out for the top 4.
Here comes Josh Chin. He has a run this time down to turn 1. Finally alongside the 11 car. Cars 11 and 93. This is impressive. Just impressive all around. This has been a really, really solid race tonight. We've still got 40 laps to go, even after the completion of this one. Side by side still. Down painting the yellow line is Chin. Heim trying to defend, and Chin to the line. Couldn't quite get him. 40 to go at Richmond.
They're fighting for all the marbles right now, but that's allowing Chase Cabry to come back in. It's going to stack this field up. It's going to help Chris Wetz, because he is still trying to make that outside line work. And it's starting to come in. As look at how close they are, leaning on each other's doors, coming off of turn number 4. Heim still with the advantage. Chase Cabry still following the 2, seeing if he can make something work, but Sabile is knocking on that door for 3rd.
This is no statement against Corey Heim. He's racing, and he has every right to do so. But if I was the playoff driver, any playoff driver not named Chase Cabry or Leighton Sabile, I wouldn't have this patience with him. I would not be able to, knowing that he's not racing for a championship, I would not be able to race this hard with him, burn my stuff up, and be okay with it, as Reynolds goes way down to the inside of Sabile, looking down low, trying to find something down there. If I'm Josh Chin, I would have moved the 11 already. That's just me. I'm not saying he should, and that's nothing against Corey. He's doing everything he should be doing for his own race, and even his teammates. But if I'm Josh Chin, I would have sent him already.
Well, remember, Andrew, Joshua Chin is the regular season champion.
Yeah.
He knows how to get it done.
Top seed.
He knows exactly what he's doing. Top, like you just said, top seed in the playoffs. But here is the main factor that neither of us have talked about. No wins yet. Joshua Chin is still searching for that first win of the season, and it might just play into what you're talking about, Andrew. He might just run out of patience. But he's going to have to do what he can very, very soon because Chris Wetz is on the move. He is next to Cabry now. He is fighting for that third place spot, and Aaron Smith is right behind him.
Here comes Chin, back to the inside. Almost gets there. One of these times, Heim is not going to have the room to do it. And Chin keeps getting closer. Nearly a block. That was a block. We'll say that was a block. And here comes Chris Wetz. That backs the 93 up once again. It's playing perfectly for Heim. I don't know how many more times Chin's going to tolerate it as Wetz gets the wall down the backstretch and goes up the track and slows down. That's going to help the 93 and the 98.
Yeah, 98's going to get clear, maybe not. Wetz still in contention, but he's got right side damage. But with Heim running that low line and preventing Joshua Chin from getting up the inside like he wants to, it's backing up that bottom line. Chin wants to hold on to those tires. He wants to keep it still in contention as Trippiano almost goes straight through the corner. Gets up tied just a little bit.
Whoa, Sabile.
Oh, this is getting intense.
Leighton almost lost it that time out of 4. Great job hanging on to it, sawing at the wheel. Josh Chin. Yeah, Josh Chin is still trying to find something on Corey Heim. I think he's calmed down now. This is a tough spot to be in, man. This is why I say I would not have the patience for this. He's got the patience of a saint, clearly. I would not be able to do it. I mean, you've got the short run speed. You can get by that guy. You know you can. You know you're faster, at least than what's being displayed. I'm sure Corey has some speed he's not using just yet. I would not have been able to be that good behind Corey. Love Corey Heim. Love all these guys, but I would have moved him. I'll just be honest. Again, I'm impressed.
And these guys are being so patient with each other, but Trippiano just hit the wall down the front stretch, right behind Aaron Smith, and it looks like Cabry is finally clear of Wetz. Sabile is now into the clutches of Wetz with Blake Reynolds right behind him.
And that's why I would not have been as patient if I was Josh Chin. Suddenly, here comes Chase Cabry. He finally got clear of the 71. It was only a matter of time. And this is suddenly a 3-car race for the race lead. And here comes Sabile. These EPI guys, well, I'll say the Hog Tamers, at least those 3, have got this place figured out to a T. Heim, Cabry, and Sabile, they have really got it figured out right now. This car at this track on this setup, with these conditions, they are looking good as Sabile gets clear of Chris Wetz. Now makes it a side-by-side with Blake Reynolds, and caution is going to hold things up. Evan Allen, Jonathan Taylor. That changes almost everything. Almost. Doesn't change the pit strategy, but it certainly...
coming in hot. He's looking for somebody.
Possibly.
Maybe not.
Hard to say. But let's take a look back at what just happened between the 7 and maybe not Evan Allen. This might have been a single car spin, or does Peleg get him?
Ooh. He almost hit Trippiano, and Peleg just ran him over.
Oh.
Very close, though, for Cosmignana show.
I really can't fault Sean, though, in that situation. I mean, coming out of the corner, you're committed to the throttle, and suddenly a car is getting loose. Obviously, you want to check up if you can, but you might not be able to in that case. You just might not be able to react fast enough.
There's not a lot of time to react there.
It is what it is, yeah. Everybody back down to the pit lane. Corey Heim leading the charge.
It looks like everybody's going to come in. I would absolutely take full service. Tristan Hagenstein staying out to get some laps back. You see the rest of the drivers on pit road. I think it's high time for a strategy call. Maybe 2 tires.
There it is from Corey. He gets out there with 2 tires. And does anybody else follow?
Sabile. But there's Chin making it out. Cabry, Sabile, Reynolds, Smith.
Well,
the cars follow.
Alex Bates stays out. I think he'll pit. Yes, he is. So we'll get a recap of who's where here in just a moment. There's everybody. I love this camera here. I love this. Everybody just filing back onto the racetrack, single file. One of the best shots we have anywhere. Corey Heim will take the race lead. Chase Cabre will take second. Josh Chin, hello. Speeding, maybe? Yes.
Oh, no. That is not what you wanted to see from the regular season champ.
That's an understatement. That's a mistake you cannot have happen with 25 to go at Richmond Raceway. A place like Charlotte, where you're packed up and you've got some more options, maybe you can get more spots back. Even Phoenix, you're pretty well, especially Phoenix 08, where we're going for the cutoff race. Other place you can't allow this to happen. This is huge. You simply cannot speed under this yellow. And yet here we are.
Boys and girls, children of all ages, what you're about to see is the 93 of Joshua Chin. Absolutely go for it. Man is now going to be on a mission with 25 laps to go in this race. And this before we even take the green flag. He has got to make something happen. He's got to go for it. You're going to see sends up the inside. You're going to see blistering passes around the outside, hopefully. And, well, Andrew, place your bets. You were talking about bets earlier. Place your bets.
This is now a hog tamer race. I mean, Blake Reynolds, I think, will still give him hell. I think he's going to be a great challenge, but he's been having trouble on these restarts. I think he's in his own head, maybe. This is everything these guys up front needed, the top three anyways. Heim, Cabre, Seville, this is gold for all three of them. Let's recap where they are coming into tonight. Chase Cabre 7 up on the cut line, Reynolds 11 up, Chin 13 up. Vargas not here. That would help Nate Stewart originally, but Sean Peleg has simply outperformed him after some issues for Nate later on in the race. This is going to help Seville big time. 11 down to the cut line. That's going to change here tonight. Green flag back out, just over 20 to go at Richmond Raceway. The top four get away clean. Reynolds down to the inside. A much better restart from him that time, Zach. And here comes Seville. They're going to make it choreographic up front between your top three. Single file already through your top four.
That was a nice pun there. That was nice. I like that.
I made a pun?
Choreographic, because Corey Heim is leading.
Unintended. Apparently, when I became a father, it just dad jokes on command without me even knowing it. But side by side, here we go. Third place, 25 inside, 66 outside, 21 to go. That time across the line. But this is an important fight.
Yeah, but here's the thing. As Corey Heim goes purple, there's a lap car in front. Adam Kodal just came out of the pit lane, and he's right in front of the leaders.
Yeah, I think he'll play nicely, though. I mean, these guys, they're all on new tires. Kodal, there's no way he's going to hold these guys up. Yep, there he goes.
There he goes.
Seville gets back clear of Reynolds. This is important as Aaron Smith is back into the top six, racing with Trupiano. And Heim, it's Heim time. Goes back purple.
Those two tires are working. They are absolutely rolling for that 11 car right now. Cabre right behind him. Yanasho out of shape, back straightaway, going into 3. Herschel right behind him. Taylor in front of him. This is not going to end well. Herschel trying to find a way around. But here's Joshua Chin behind them. This
is money for Gabe Herschel. He's got an opportunity to grab some spots now. Of course, we've had some not retirements, but have had some big crashes. A couple of drivers have dropped out. Herschel now racing for 15th. It's still not what he needs. Well, it is what he needs to get spots. Not what he wants. But hey, spots are spots right now. Get him however you can take him, especially with this guy on your rear bumper, Josh Chin, trying to fight his way back through the field after speeding on pit road. You've got Nate Stewart back here. This is still pretty big for Herschel. To get any spots right now after the race he's had is important.
But they're getting backed up. Nate Stewart, who's been fighting the pit lane all race, right behind them now. And Joshua Chin is trying to find any way around. Gabe Herschel, get those points back. He was the top seed coming in. He cannot afford to have these pleasantries, well, unpleasantries really, as he is still trying to fight to find his way around these drivers. Nate Stewart on his back bumper. Looking the inside of Yanasho again. Joshua Chin just trying to find any way he can to get around them, as we are now 16 laps to go in this race with Cabry and Heim so close for this race lead.
By the way, I've come to realize why Chin did not send the 11. That would have been a death sentence for both. That would have been a crash. And I was just thinking to myself, I was about to say, you know, if I'm Chin, I'm going to start using the bumper. These bumpers don't line up, Zach. You can't do that. You really can't. As we've had a change for the race lead, Cabry comes up underneath his teammate Corey Heim. I think Corey might let him go.
Reynolds,
yeah, Blake's going to take advantage with Sabile kind of checking up in all of this. This is, you've got to watch Blake. He's the one odd man out of the top three, and he actually gets into Sabile and drives him up the track a little bit.
They are fighting hard for these lead positions. This is the first time, maybe even the second time all race that we've seen the leaders and the drivers right behind them doubled up fighting for the lead and for third, as Heim is going to try to cut down right in front of Blake Reynolds. Sabile looking low. They're throwing blocks all over the racetrack, and Tripiano is trying to capitalize.
And he does.
Sabile.
A great drive all of a sudden out of Andy. I mean, I don't know where this came from, as Herschel and Stewart are fighting in the back. Let's take a quick look at it. There they are, side by side. Chin got by. Chin is now 15th. So trying to make some reparations back through the field, I think. Get back into a decent spot. He's now 14th. Looking for more. He's just behind Pistana, Melillo, and Taylor. He can get all three of those guys. Meanwhile, back in your top three. 12 laps to go this time by here at Richmond. Side by side for fourth. It's Sabile inside, Trupiano outside. The top three are getting away. And Heim is playing that spoiler role. He's letting Cabry get away.
He's holding up Blake Reynolds. They have gapped out by about 0.5 of a second from Cabry to Heim. And look at Blake Reynolds all over the back bumper.
Oh, no, Sabile!
Oh, hard into the wall.
Caution. And everybody swerves to avoid.
Look at that right rear damage on that 25 car. Not a lot of right front damage. I don't think it's going to hurt him too much. He might stay out.
He's going somewhere.
He's looking for somebody.
He thought about it.
He's trying to get his spot back.
Well, you might be right. You might be right. Yeah, if you're in the playoffs, you have to have cooler heads, and I think you're right. He was getting his spot back. He looked like he was on a mission, thankfully. Didn't appear to be. He's racing here with Andy Trupiano out of turn number 4. Something happened there with Reynolds. He got into Heim. Heim has been parking it. He's playing the gap for Chase Cabry, and it all just stacks up.
Unfortunate set of circumstances for these drivers.
This is not the first time you've seen a team work together at Richmond Raceway regarding the playoffs.
Here's the big thing, though. Do we see these drivers take to the pit lane? Do we see anybody go around and see if they want to take it to pit road? Track position, Andrew, it's key right now, especially within 10 to go.
I wouldn't pit, but some have. Chase Cabry stays out. He's going to have a litany of drivers stay out with him. The top 10 will stay out. That's Cabry, Palmieri, Wetz, Parrish, Taylor, top 5. Sabile stays out after being spun. Pistana, Savitsky, Rahman, Allen. Your first car off of the pit lane is Aaron Smith. He takes 2. Sean Peleg takes 2. Your first car on 4 now is Corey Heim. So changing up what he did on that earlier yellow, you're inside of 10 to go. I wouldn't have pitted. If I'm going to pit there, it's 2. It really is. So I like the move from Aaron Smith, but I wouldn't have pitted at all. He was in the top 5. That is thrown away positions and points, in my opinion. That's likely not the last yellow. I'm going to be honest, Zach. I don't understand the play for tires there. Whether it's 2 or 4, you don't really need them if you're already up front. If you're the guy who's going to sort out 8th, 9th, or 10th here, I get it. It's not like these tires are that old. I think in the meshing of new and old tires, there's at least one more yellow here.
If I was one driver that should have stayed out, I would have been Nate Stewart.
Yeah.
Nate should have stayed out. He had finally got that damage fixed. He was rolling. He set a purple lap at one point. This would have been a great opportunity for him to get up there and get those points that he needed. I mean, just thinking about the points right now, this is a huge shakeup with how these drivers are playing the field. Aaron Smith is now out there where he needs to be in contention. Chase Cabry, now leading this race, is looking to point himself in. And Chris Wetz, he's the one driver that's really needed a good night. Josh Parrish is back up there. He's not even a playoff driver. You have got 4 playoff drivers within the top 6. Or excuse me, within the top 7.
3.
It's 3. 3 playoff drivers.
Cabri, Wetz, and Stabile are the only 3 in the top 10. Smith is next up, then Peleg, then Trupiano, Chin, Reynolds, and Herschel all on top of each other. That is where we're going to have some issues. And Reynolds gets sorted back because Chin took 2. Herschel took 2. Bates took 2. Peleg and Smith took 2. So the 66 dropped back very suddenly. Well,
this is gonna be a bottleneck.
What nickname did I bring back for this place at the top of the show? The action track.
There we go. Well,
this will be the action track on this restart.
That's a different track, though.
No, that's Richmond. It's the action track. It used to be called the action track.
What about Action Track USA?
I don't know about any of that. This used to be the action track. Justin Melillo posted that on Twitter, reminded me of that nickname. It's so fitting here. 6 laps to go. A mixed grab bag of tires. Green flag is back out. Cabri in front of them all.
Hail Mary got a really bad restart. It's going to allow Wetz to get up his inside. But he should have the run coming off too. And look at them, 3 wide, 3 rows deep through turns.
Smith up top and Bates. Oh no, Nate Stewart.
Hard into the outside wall. We stay green. There is the caution flag. Nate Stewart once again involved in an incident he had no part of.
Sean Peleg is the only of those drivers on new tires to break into the top 10. He moves into 9th. Let's take a look back at what in the world just happened.
You're right, Andrew. You shouldn't have pitted. These quick cautions.
I know it started around Aaron Smith. Watch the 70, bright yellow, hard to miss him. Heim sent it up the inside. Rahman, Trupiano, Smith goes up top. They stack up with Bates. That sends Melillo into Stewart. Nate didn't hit the wall too hard. But that's... He actually bounced off pretty quickly and kept rolling. I'm very impressed, actually. Not just by the car, but by the driver.
It's that bottleneck, Andrew. You see here, Aaron Smith up there. Reynolds has to check up. And
Yanosho into Bates.
Oh, my goodness. Melillo gets involved. Bates involved. Blake Reynolds.
It's a wonder. It's a wonder that wasn't larger than it was, honestly.
Absolutely. Like I just said, Blake Reynolds very lucky not to get involved. This is looking at Nate Stewart. He gets really loose going into 1. There's the 3 wide. They were almost 4 wide going into turn 1.
3 wide over the course of 4 or 5 different rows.
There it goes.
Yeah, the whole field was lucky that wasn't bigger. This is going to set up either for a natural green-white checkered, Zach, or overtime for the first attempt.
Oh, it's overtime. Definitely going to be overtime.
Yep. We didn't double up that time. We're going into extra period, extra time here at, not Charlotte, that was last night, Richmond Raceway. Now, Charlotte is next up, and we're going racing next week. You're going racing next week, as are the rest of these guys, for the Busy Bee 150, brought to you by CC's Business. Wax melts, handmade soaps, stickers, all kinds of different crafts and knick-knacks. Well, maybe not knick-knacks.
You guys make stickers?
Stickers, yeah.
So where's my sticker for my race car?
Well, so I will say it's not quite 3M stickers just yet. Not quite the ones you would put on a race car, but I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like paper stickers, like more so labels for other products and such, because CC's Business is making them for themselves, keeping it in-house. They can do so for your business as well. Labels to put on different products, stuff like that. Really, the big thing is wax melts. This is a very young company, a very young business, and somebody that is really putting her hard work, sweat and tears into this business. Check out CC's Business on social media. I'm talking TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all 3. And TikTok is, I mean, really where the grind is these days, right? But wax melts is the big thing. There's all kinds of fall and winter scents coming out. We'll talk more about that next week at Charlotte. We're going to have some pictures to put up on the broadcast, kind of show you what we're talking about. But for right now, be aware, Charlotte Motor Speedway next week, October 18th, we go racing for race 2 of the playoffs. And then Phoenix will wait for the cutoff. I mean, If you're in trouble here tonight, and there's a lot of guys that are for the playoffs, specifically Nate Stewart, Blake Reynolds, maybe Gabe Herschel. I mean, it's everybody's mixed around. If you can't get it done tonight, you're relying on just Charlotte and Phoenix, and that's not a situation you want to be in.
Absolutely. These drivers need to get it done tonight if they can. That way you have many weeks to prepare. But Andrew, you need to prepare for 2 laps to go. First attempt at green-white checkered.
Waiting for the green flag. The green flag is displayed. Green, white, checkered, number 1. Big stack up on the restart. Palmieri spun his tires. 3 wide for third down to turn number 1. Chris Wetz is second with an opportunity to go for the race win.
Jonathan Taylor capitalized as well. You see all the drivers bunching around back there. Through 3 and 4, though. Wetz in second, looking at Cabry's back bumper.
Chase Cabry leads out of turn 4, and at this point, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody to challenge him. 1 lap to go. White flag brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams at Richmond Raceway. Can Chris Wetz get there? The answer is no. Big crash in the back. Massive, massive accident. Championship implications all around, but the checkered flag goes to Chase Cabry at the action track. More crashing.
Big stack up there, still wrecking across the line.
Chase Cabry will race for a championship. This guy started the season as a substitute driver for Leighton Sabile for 2 races. Then he decided, yeah, I like this. Let's go racing for the full season in the UFL Elite Series. And boy, was that a good decision. He has become the first driver to punch his ticket to the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway. Welcome, Chase Cabry, to Homestead.
What an absolute stellar finish. And not to take away from Cabry for a second, but Nate Stewart, who we were talking about that got involved in the crash, Andrew, he came back for a top 10.
It all works out, doesn't it?
It does, as iRacing seems to have crashed for me, but we're still enjoying a great celebration here from Chase Cabry after putting on quite the show, leading almost a third of the laps tonight. Andrew, what a race we watched.
It is the action track for a reason. Chase Cabry goes to victory lane. Once he wraps up these burnouts, we're going to take a look, and it looks like he's wrapping up his celebration. We've got a lot to look at from that restart. Bear with us as we find the right moment to begin this replay. This is under yellow. I think, yeah, that's where pace car light is shut off. So we can go from here. This will work. Say that's going to be like a minute to come back around. Give us 1 moment. This is where it gets tricky to find the right moment for a replay. So this is the setting, right? You've got Chase Cabry, Jonathan Palmieri, then Chris Wetz, Josh Parrish, Jonathan Taylor, Leighton Sabile. That is your top 6 coming to the green flag. They got through lap 1 okay, but we'll watch from here and just see what happens. They did stack up there at Pistana. Pistana stacked up to Peleg, and they were 3 wide up front.
Yeah, it's just a lot of different things playing out here.
Watch the 3 car.
You see a bottlenecking off the corner. Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Palmieri. This is where the action happens.
The 3 is going to end up the next
sideways.
lap wadded into the inside wall. Something I know happens, I think, with Trupiano. Yeah, he finishes 22nd after running in the top 10.
Right here, Corey Heim comes down a little bit, hooks him. Then look at Nate Stewart, though. Look at him get through it. Goes from the back of the pack.
That's championship implications all around. I've been very critical of a couple of drivers in the past, and I won't save it. Even for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series regular season champion. If you are not in the playoffs, you just don't need to race a playoff competitor like that, in my opinion. If you're up there for the race win, that's different. You just right-hooked somebody racing for a championship and took out a bunch of other guys who are trying to do so as well. And Corey's been in that spot. He wouldn't want it to happen to him. He wouldn't want it to happen to him at Phoenix later this year racing for a championship. It's just situational awareness, in my opinion. Hey, he's the one that races for Tricon Garage, though. And he's the one that knows how to drive a race truck, race car, whatever. Likely headed to the Xfinity Series soon. That said, it caused a big mess. Josh Chin, does he get through this?
I think he does. right there on the bottom. See Trippiano, that's where he gets hooked. He just misses it.
Blake Reynolds, a big part of it. He gets wadded up big time into the outside wall.
Aaron Smith got it straightened up pretty quickly, and he fought with Nate Stewart to the finish line here. It was definitely an interesting show, to say the least. But what an incredible race we saw tonight. Here you see Aaron Smith once again, outside of Blake Reynolds. There's the hook. Oh, just
Nate Stewart gets through. Malillo got hit by Poteet, just not wanting to check up. And, I mean, I can't blame the guy. It's the last lap. Everybody stacks up. You see an opportunity. You're trying to go on through. It sucks for Justin. But you're racing for something back there. Man.
You can drive through it.
Or not. Not in some cases. Here's a look at what happened to John Palmieri. And I do want to stress briefly, of course, it's an honest mistake from Corey. He's not trying to wreck anybody. It's just, I don't know. I wouldn't have done it myself. Sabile ends up tagging the 3, and Sabile gets beat by a lot of cars.
Oh, yeah. That's going to hurt his championship.
He dropped
right
to
there.
14th all of a sudden. Oh, my gosh.
Hit after the line. But Joshua Chin and Nate Stewart were the ones that capitalized on out of all of this. Look at Chin right there. You can see him. See his parted right there. And he beat Peleg to the line, even getting wrecked.
Wow.
And boom, there's the wrecking after the line.
Should be the last replay we need, I think. We'll take a look back at it here. Watch the 4 and 93 out of turn 4 here. The 93 checks up for this crash. Sorry, this 4 and the 70. They start beating and banging, driving into each other. A couple of old Nork drivers. And they fight to the wall. Oh my gosh. One more.
I've had a lot of previous experience racing with guys like Aaron Smith and Nate Stewart. I know that they are quite the competitive bunch. And to see them go at it like that is definitely a fun sight to see. Watching on board with Joshua Chin.
Oh,
there's Palmieri, Sabile,
Peleg hard on the wall. Peleg came down, ends up hooking the 93. Doesn't change anything. I don't think that was intentional. Oh my gosh, the big hits. And once more, it's worth stressing. I say everything I say, not to beat anybody down. Love all the drivers here in the series. We kind of got into this a little bit at Interlagos. It's all opinion. It's all opinion. I know we can get pretty critical. We're not the ones holding the steering wheels. It's our job just to talk about the racing and call it as we see it. Just want to cover all bases. Because it's not at all personal. Just like I don't think anything that happened tonight was personal. I really highly doubt Corey meant to get into the 16. They had no run-ins earlier in the race. It just happened. That's racing, and that's the beautiful thing of it. It gives us something to talk about. Unfortunate, though, for certain drivers. Let's quickly bring in our race winner. Let's not delay him anymore, because Chase Cabry goes to victory lane for the second time this season. And Chase, you started this season as a sub-driver. I wouldn't say nothing but a sub-driver, but a sub-driver for your teammate, Leighton Sabile. You said you like this. You got on board all season long. It has paid off. You're racing for a championship. How did you do it? How does that feel?
Yeah, I was pumped when I saw that Richmond was the first round of the playoffs. It's by far my favorite track on iRacing. I feel like it's one of those tracks where being precise and having the right inputs is so important, more important than any other track on the sim, I feel. And so because that's one of my favorite places. And so when I saw it was the first race, I knew I'd have a shot and qualified third. And, in the beginning, everyone was saving tire. And then we got to that second stage and it ended up being like a 40 lap run. So 30 lap run. So we kind of pushed hard and I knew I had the speed at that point. And then towards the end, kind of fell in line about second or third there and was able to get the lead. And then Corey ended up taking 2 tires, got the lead from him then. And when everyone pitted there at the end, I said I was staying out. Corey said he was coming in, and I didn't know what he was going to do. I hope my biggest hope was that I had a 10-car buffer, and sure enough, I did. I had 11 cars that stayed out and totaled. So I knew if I could just get out front and just log laps by myself that we should have been okay, and turns out we were.
How big of an asset is Corey Heim, especially getting late in the season here when he doesn't have any worries. And we saw that tonight. He made some strategy calls, definitely raced, I think, to help you and Leighton try and do the best you guys could. How big of an asset is he?
It's just fun. We just get in here and have fun. Hell, I think Corey's more of a threat now when he doesn't have anything on the line, because, you know, he can take 2 tires and stay out. And so, you know, when he takes 2, if some other people take 2, you know, Corey's going to be fast out front. So it actually, you know, he actually becomes, to me, more of a threat because he doesn't have to really, like when we came in and took 4, he can play strategy and try to get out front. And, you know, like I said, he's just really fast and tough to beat. And but more than anything, it's just fun to get on with all the hog tamers, you know, me, Leighton, Monin, and Corey, and do this every Wednesday night.
Well, Chase, I think we'll be talking to you a lot more this season. We still have 2 more races in these playoffs just to get to Homestead. Then you're in it for the Final Four at Homestead. Congratulations, big time. You're the first one going to Homestead with a chance to win the championship. I'm looking forward to seeing Car 98 the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Homestead. I despise that place with a passion. So I wish it was at Phoenix, but whatever. We'll go to Homestead and see if we can get the job done.
I think you are the first person I've ever heard want the championship at Phoenix. That is it.
Homestead is one of those places. It's a massive tire saving place. You can go to the top and it's way faster, but for whatever reason, you burn tires up. So everyone traps down to the bottom and rides around, and then 20 laps later, everyone's driving away from me, and I felt like I did a good job of saving tires. So haven't figured it out in 13 years of being on the sim, and I don't think I'll figure it out for this one.
I know the feeling. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But hey, we're looking forward to it regardless. I'm sure you guys are going to make it a lot more fun than we could ever expect. Once again, congrats. We'll be talking to you more this season.
I appreciate it. See ya. Face
Cabry with man, it's like I'm in this post and I feel attacked or something. I don't like it, whatever it is. That's my experience racing on the sim at Homestead is exactly that. Trying to save tires, not being able to. 15 laps in, there goes everybody driving away. But Zach, we have a first timer as far as interviews here on the broadcast. Chris Wetz has never come to talk to us before. Finishes second tonight. We have a lot to talk about with this guy.
Yeah, Chris Wetz had a very emotional roller coaster of a race, we'll say. He never really dropped too far outside of the top 10, but definitely a very big headline going into tonight. Chris, you came into this race second from the bottom in terms of seeds for the playoffs, and you're walking out of here with an insane amount of points compared to your contenders. How does that make you feel about rolling into next week?
It's something I desperately needed. I was pretty far out, and the competition at the top is so tough, and I've had a lot of bad luck, so I've really needed to be able to make up a big chunk of points, so just to get me even.
Yeah, if we look at the points, everyone's still within reaching distance of each other, but you, sir, definitely needed these points tonight, and you had a lot of championship contenders that had bad nights tonight. Nate Stewart, Leighton Sabile, a lot of these drivers who were fighting with you early on in this race now might actually be behind you moving into next week. But really, just kind of tell us how does it feel really to be second? First time getting interviewed for pretty much all season. Like, man, you did a great job tonight.
Yeah, but it's pretty good. I thought the speed was there to be able to get up there. Just haven't had things go my way in races. But yeah, I just the no tires, the not taking tires at the end is what got me there. I thought that's what was going to happen. I just thought behind me there was going to be a crash. They wouldn't have enough time to get there, and luckily enough people stayed out that's what happened.
Absolutely. Well, you brought it home second tonight. You got a lot of solid momentum rolling into next week, and really, we wish you the best of luck.
Yep, thank you.
And that was Chris Wetz, Andrew, on the second place finish tonight. He seems pretty happy about staying out, and I'm sure we're going to have another driver in here that's going to be pretty happy about it as well.
Absolutely. The one driver out of the top 3 that is not in it for the playoffs, Jonathan Taylor, coming to talk to us after finishing third place at Richmond Raceway. Jonathan, you started the season out on so many high notes. It went sour there towards the midseason, but this is a great way to get back in the saddle. Third place at Richmond, that's got to make you happy.
Yeah, no, it's been a weird middle stretch of the year, right? I feel like we have a good run going, got good pace, and then, something happens, either I make a mistake or something just out of my control and happens, and it kind of stuck there for a little bit. But yeah, happy that it kind of worked out tonight in our favor. It kind of worked out a lot like IRP early in the year, where it's better to be lucky than good. Not to say that we weren't fast though tonight. We probably had 7th, 8th, 9th pace there. Certainly not 3rd, but things fell the way they did, and we noticed that the tires didn't really fall off in that 20 lap run when we all pitted. So I'm not in the playoffs. Why not stay out and try it and kind of let the cards fall where they may. So yeah, really happy with the P3. Really happy to get a good run in tonight.
Certainly a good call there at the end. Put yourself in a really good spot, at least to make the most of that battle for 13th in the championship. But this just seems like it's been a good season. I mean, this Gen 4 car has raced really well. You guys have had a lot of fun, a lot of high moments, a few lows, a few dips here and there. A success overall, it feels like, for a lot of you guys that have been here in the UFL Elite Series for seasons on seasons on seasons at this point. This has to at least feel like a good season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, selfishly, I don't think it's been a great season just because I didn't make the playoffs compared to last year with the next gen car. But it races very differently. It requires, every different style than you would normally with the next gen. Next gen, you have to be so straight, so precise, and really focus on getting back to the gas as fast as you can. And the Gen 4, you have to be so careful. And it is definitely produced some really fun racing. I mean, tonight I mentioned when I was in the back of that big pack there with about 30 to go, I was like, I feel like we're plate racing here. We're not racing at Richmond, basically picking lines and trying to figure out, should I go at the outside? Does it have momentum? Is the bottom working out better? So, I mean, it's definitely provided really interesting, unique racing. Certainly a success for UFL, I think, as a league, and hopefully, it just kind of, goes into the next season and we can keep riding that momentum. And, personally speaking, also, I like these smaller car counts. I think it provided a better race tonight. So, yeah, I think it's been really good for the league, and happy to see that success come through.
I do think there's a happy medium of how many cars you have. Sometimes 40, especially at a place like this, it might be a little too much. About 26 to 30 like we had tonight, 26, that feels like it's a really happy medium. Is that about where you feel?
Yeah, totally. I think, we saw it at IRP in Bristol. So many cars on track leads to unnecessary stack ups. We're talking about people with a lot of experience, not a lot of experience, getting mixed together. It'd be like throwing a bunch of ARCA guys into a cup and, seeing how they worked out, right? It wouldn't be very pretty when you put the cup guys back there with ARCA. So, yeah, I think tonight showed that that's the perfect amount. Granted, still would love to see big car counts at places like Chicagoland or Atlanta, places that you can use a lot of racetrack. But tonight, I think the car count was perfect, and credit to John, Tristan, Matt, for giving us a really good product to go race with.
Absolutely, really good racing here, Richmond. John, thanks for your time. Hopefully, we're talking to you more this season.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for the great night, and looking forward to the next few weeks.
Shout out to John as well for giving us the fuel data coming into this evening, kind of the fuel window expectation. The two different Johns actually helped us with that, Jonathan Taylor and Jonathan Palmieri. Let's take a look, though, at our race results when it's all said and done, Zach. One of the most tumultuous ways we could have possibly ended this race. The top two, they stayed up front there towards the end. Chase Cabrey, Chris Wetz, really good stuff there at the end. Of course, Chase is on to the finale, on to Homestead, get a fight for a championship. Chris Wetz has a great opportunity now to ride this wave of momentum. Charlotte's going to be a little tougher. Phoenix might be right back in his wheelhouse. And, Chris comes in 12 points down. He's going to be on that cut line, I feel like, after this race, if not possibly maybe right above it, right behind it. He's going to be right around it, I think, after this. I think he got some stage points. Second place here in the race, big time opportunity. Then you see Jonathan Taylor, Josh Parrish, Aiden Savitsky, Ryan Pistana even in 6th place coming through there at the end. Really good stuff from each of them. Then to complete your top 10, Josh Chin, Sean Peleg, Nate Stewart, Aaron Smith. Those two at the bottom of that top 10, separated by 3/1000ths of a second across the line. That's as close as it gets between Nate Stewart and Aaron Smith for that 9th position. A really big recovery for Nate. I mean, we were talking about 24th most of the evening for him after running in the top 10. To come back 9th after all of that, that's got to feel like a win for him. I wish we could have talked to him, got his perspective. That's got to feel like a win. He's going to stay alive in these playoffs for at least another round. Josh Chin even comes back up to 7th after his speeding penalty. Really cool to see those guys make recoveries.
Absolutely. Joshua Chin and Nate Stewart, just great to see them running up there. And Gabe Herschel, someone who we really didn't talk about too much, he ended up finishing 11th. He was able to recover a little bit. He didn't get that top 10 that he really needed to help him with those playoffs, but he still managed to finish in front of a lot of playoff drivers than he needed to. Doug DeNice right behind him. Alex Bates, Leighton Sabile after getting caught up in all that, ended up 14th. Cosmiano Show, Dylan Poteet, and Blake Reynolds in 16th and 17th position. Manon Rahman, Adam Kodal, and Walker Skeeter rounding out your top 20 drivers.
And how about the top 20 for Walker Skeeter? He sat way back all night long, just happy to be here, I feel like. Ends up in the top 20. Justin Melillo, of course, one of the victims there at the end, along with Andy Trupiano. I hate that for Andy. And it's going to be tough for him to get back on the wheel and get those points back. I mean, it's not impossible, but when you're going straight to an elimination of 8 cars, that is big. Evan Allen, 23rd. Corey Heim, 24th. John Palmieri there in 25th, Hagenstein, Wishart. I think Matt was playing admin duty this evening as the 27th entry technically. If we go back and revisit the point standings coming into this race, Zach, this is a really interesting picture that gets painted. Of course, Cabry is in. We knew he'd be in, I think, realistically, based on just his performance. Reynolds, let's see, 17th. That's going to drop him down, I think, around... Well, he'll probably still be positive, maybe only by a handful. You know, he's going to be...
I absolutely doubt it.
Keep in mind, stage points. He got a bunch.
That is true.
He was 2nd, I think, in stage 1. And, I mean, Aaron Smith would be positive over the cut line by a couple, at least, from the stage win he got. And then comes back and finishes 10th. There's a lot that's going to play in. I don't envy John Palmieri trying to tabulate the points after this, but a lot's going to change. Even Herschel came home 11th. I mean, we were talking about him all night long, needing to go somewhere. Could not run back there at 20th spot. Ends up 11th. I mean, he's going to gain a lot more points than we ever thought he would, and that just goes to prove you can run 20th all night long. Like John Taylor said, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. And I think you even said it earlier on the broadcast. It really does pay off. In this case, it paid off nicely for Herschel, paid off nicely for Nate. Eventually, it turned around for him.
Absolutely, and it's going to turn these playoffs on their head. Just remember here, Vargas was not here, Schwartz was not here.
Yep.
That throws in a huge wrench. So even if we're not going off the race finish, let's throw the whole race out. Well, a weird thing to say, but yes, let's do it. Vargas drops down immediately. Schwartz drops down immediately. That moves Trupiano up 2 spots. That moves everyone up pretty much behind behind Schwartz up 2 spots. You've got Peleg up looking in. You've got a 3-way tie. Or, excuse me, not a 3-way tie. You do have a tie between Nate Stewart and Sean Peleg. Smith 2 points back. Trupiano another 2 points back there. Sabile another point behind there. It brings the field all that much closer. So Vargas and Schwartz are not going to get any points. So that puts them already in 11th and 12th. Wetz, Herschel, everyone, they've already had a gain, regardless of their race tonight. So just think about that rolling into Charlotte and think about how this guy might play spoiler to all of them. Huh?
There's definitely a lot to consider all around, and when we unload in 1 week at Charlotte, it's going to be a whole different ball game. Thanks for tuning in to this point. Certainly is appreciated. One heck of a night this evening at Richmond Raceway. A big shout out to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, and CC's Business, the namesake of next week's Busy Bee 150. Here's a look at what's upcoming here at Pit Stop TV, our next 3 broadcasts, which leads us all the way up to Wednesday. It goes through Thursday. Friday evening, we go back to Barber Motorsports Park, actually to Barber for the first time this season at least, in the Barber Ford Mustang Club. Monday, it's out to VIR with the SimLab Production Car Challenge. That's an official race at 9:30 Eastern. You can join it in PCC, as they call it, Production Car Challenge, and get involved thanks to Barber Ford. And of course, Tuesday, we head out to USA International Speedway Lakeland for Lucky Motorsport Solutions Street Stock Action, brought to you by Elevated Performance. That's going to do it for us this evening from Richmond Raceway. Once again, thanks for tuning in. A big thank you to our partners down bottom of your screen, at least those who help us behind the scenes in audio, ATVO, Whiplash SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. That is it from Richmond Raceway. It's the it's the Busy Bee 150, brought to you by CC's Business at Charlotte next week. Make sure you're back here 9 Eastern next Wednesday for race number 2 of the playoffs. I can only imagine how much more fun it's going to get. We'll see you next time, hopefully tomorrow night as well, or not tomorrow night, Friday night as well, for the Barber Ford Mustang Club from Barber.